Okay, so you send a text to a friend. Completely normal text. Hey, you want to grab a coffee this week? An hour passes. Fine. They're busy. 2 hours. Okay, maybe they didn't see it. Hour 3, and now you're fully convinced they hate you. You've somehow offended them. Probably the entire friendship was fake, and you should just move to another country and start over. Does that affect anyone else? Is that just me? I'm Richard Forbes-Ritty, and welcome to the funhouse mirror that is rejection sensitivity in ADHD. I have lived with ADHD all my life, and I didn't get diagnosed until I was 48 years old. But when I look back through my life, I can see all the patterns where rejection sensitivity played a huge part. Relationships, jobs, not just in the job for performance reviews, but also for the application process, all of that, the selection of interviews for promotions and all of that sort of stuff. Every time I was rejected, every time there was a conversation that I hadn't expected, every time it moved on, I felt this complete sense of, well, my life is now completely and utterly worthless. So here's the thing they don't tell you when you get diagnosed with ADHD. Well, hell, sometimes they don't even mention it. Rejection doesn't just sting for us. It's like, I don't know, someone turned up the volume on the fire alarm that's going off directly inside your chest. A casual no thanks feels like you've been shoved off a cliff. Your boss gives you totally normal feedback and your brain decides, well, this is it. My career's over. Pack your desk. Say goodbye to your family. Go and run away and live in the forest. The best part, most of us spent years thinking we were just broken. Too sensitive. Too emotional. God, why do I care so much what people think? We're going to spend the next quarter of an hour or so just figuring out what's actually happening here. Why your brain does this, and here's the exciting part: what you can actually do about it that doesn't involve becoming a complete and utter hermit. Because this isn't just about hurt feelings. This stuff affects everything: relationships, jobs, whether you even try new things, even new foods in front of people. And for some people, especially ADHD guys who've been told their whole lives to man up, it gets dangerous. We will get to that. First, let's talk about what the hell is going on in there. Let's bring it in a little bit closer. So, brain science now. Don't worry, I'm not going to get super technical. I am not a neuroscientist, but you do need to understand what's happening because it'll make you feel less like you're losing your mind. Our brains run on chemicals. All of our brains. And these are called neurotransmitters. And the main players that are at fault for ADHD are dopamine and neuropinephrine, or neuroadrenaline, I think it's called. Your brain is either not making enough of or is not using them efficiently enough, and it's trying to run a high-performance engine on regular unleaded. It needs premium, because that's why we're superpowers. And this affects everything, including the part of your brain that's supposed to go, oh yeah, that stung, but let's, keep this in perspective. So that part doesn't work. It's on vacation. It's on holiday permanently. So imagine emotional reactions like a volume dial. Most people's brains, when something happens and they feel it, it's like a 4 or a 5. It's manageable. They feel disappointed, but it is manageable. They think through it. Our brains, that thing is locked at a 9 minimum every time. If someone gives you a weird look, someone doesn't laugh at your joke, it's a 9. If an email looks slightly curt, that's probably a 10. And I've had it before. Numerous times in job interviews that I felt are a done deal. I've had them recently where I've been sitting in a room full of people, all with ADHD, and it feels like it's going really super well. And then I look over at one person, and one person has their stances shifted millimeters. Their facial expression isn't immediately reactive to everything that I'm saying, and immediately my hackles on the back of my neck go right up, and I can feel myself going, he's out, he doesn't want me in this. And it works the same for relationships, but I think the hardest thing that I've seen is when it's perceived. So when you perceive it, there may not be a physical change. It may be that their expression has changed because they've got a bit of wind stuck. They're about to have a burp quietly in the corner. But you've seen the facial change that is... and that means to you that they are going, nah, this man is not for us. You heard that? I think you have. We see it all the time. It's in voices as well. You hear a slight change in tone, unexpected change in tone, and all of a sudden the world is going to end. Let that sink in for a bit. Have a little think. You got it? You got that one example? Well, just hone in on that for now. So, what was I going to say? Yeah, that's right. So here's the extra fun part. Your brain isn't actually just reacting to actual rejection. It's looking for it. It's actively scanning every interaction like some sort of rejection-seeking missile. That neutral face your colleague made, your brain says they're mad at you. Remember, it's a neutral look. That short text reply, they are done with you, but no kisses on your text. You did something wrong. Someone's gone quiet. Everything's going to explode. Your brain is trying to protect you like an overly paranoid bodyguard who tackles you to the ground every time someone squeezes or sneezes nearby. Thanks, brain. Maybe we just have a chill. And look, your executive function, the brain's management system, is already working overtime with ADHD. So when you add these massive emotional responses, you literally don't have the mental bandwidth to figure out if the rejection is even real. Never mind to put it into any kind of perspective, calm yourself down and think about what to do next. You're not overreacting. This is just what an ADHD brain does when someone doesn't text back within 6 minutes. Let's talk about what this actually feels like. Because if you're experiencing this, you need to know you're not alone and you're not being ridiculous. I, through countless relationships, have struggled significantly with this impending doom that comes with rejection sensitivity, but without the lens of being able to know exactly what was causing it. I just felt that was how everybody behaved. I go back 20 years to the end of a relationship. I'd been with this lady for 6, maybe 7 years, through my late 20s and into my early 30s. It's probably into my mid 20s, early 30s. So 5-6 years, quite a vulnerable age. And I remember when we split up, even though for the last year of our relationship I was actually probably looking for ways out, I was getting fed up with a whole variety of things within the relationship. So I wanted it to end. Let's not beat about the bush. I wanted it to end. I wanted to move back up north. I wanted to be with my kids, who were 7 and 8 at the time. But when the moment happened that we actually sort of mutually decided that we were going to split up, and we'd been through a lot, her father died, and that was a very emotional time for both of us, especially her. But when that happened, when it all came to a boil, and I realised that the way she spoke to me now wasn't the loving way that she used to speak to me, with good reason, because our relationship was now over, I went into a place where I believed that the whole relationship had been a sham. That she'd been having, secret relationships with all sorts of people along the way, that she'd just been using me because maybe I was paid more than her so that she could get the houses, so that she could have this, great lifestyle. But my mind, from just the change in tone, the change in expression, was obliterated. My whole confidence level dropped. And let's not forget, I wanted this relationship to end. You see, that physical pinch in your stomach, the dropping of the heart, the pounding of the chest, the weird squeezing thing, that's real. That's your nervous system throwing a full-blown panic party. And then your brain gets involved. And in like 3 seconds flat, you go from they haven't responded to they hate me to everyone's always hated me to I should probably just become a lighthouse keeper on a remote island where I can't bother anyone. For me, that was jump out of the car, run into the nearest forest and set up like bloody Rambo. The worst part is that while you're having this full internal meltdown, there's a tiny voice in the back of your head and it's going, this is insane, right? But that doesn't make it stop. That doesn't make it feel any less true in the moment. So what do we do with these feelings? Well, we have to develop, some call them coping mechanisms or coping strategies. With ADHD, there's the medication, but all the medication is going to do is throw energy into the bits of your brain and your dopamine that aren't working. Some of us, therefore, become professional people pleasers. We turn ourselves into pretzels trying to make everybody happy, so nobody will reject us. You say yes when you mean no. You agree when actually you disagree. How many times have us husbands done that? You laugh at jokes that aren't funny, and you basically become a human doormat wearing a please like me sign. Excuse me, like itchy moustache. This is my personal favourite flavour of self-sabotage. You reject first. You push people away before they can leave. You quit jobs before you get fired. You ghost people before they can ghost you. You sabotage relationships when they're getting good. Because, well, they're going to go wrong anyway, aren't they? I'm on my third marriage because of this. Well, partly because of this. A number of other reasons as well. So all I'm doing is I'm speeding up the inevitable by ending it right now. It's like emotional self-defense, except you're the one throwing the punches. And underneath all of this, you're just tired. Because you're constantly monitoring everyone's facial expressions, subconsciously. Their tone of voice, the text, the punctuation. Does one period mean they're mad? Does one kiss, 2 kisses, no kisses? What about no punctuation? What if they've used a lowercase OK instead of an OK? It's exhausting. But you're not being dramatic. You're running a threat detection system that never turns off. That takes enormous energy. So as if rejection sensitivity wasn't enough fun, let's add its best friend, imposter syndrome. If you have ADHD, you probably know imposter syndrome intimately. That's the delightful belief that you're a complete fraud. You've somehow tricked everyone into thinking you're competent, and any day now, they're all going to figure it out. That's right. Good times. Here's why ADHD and imposter syndrome are basically roommates. Your brain is inconsistent. Some days you're on, you're brilliant, you're productive, you're crushing it. Other days, you literally cannot figure out how to start a simple email. So which one is the real you? Well, your brain, being the helpful little devil it is, decides it's obviously the struggling version. The good days, those were flukes. Accidents. You somehow faked your way through those, plus you've probably spent years being told you're smart if you just apply yourself. I was when I quit sixth form. Why can't you focus? You're not living up to your potential. You're lazy. You internalize that, so now even when you succeed, it feels suspicious, like you got away with something. Now add rejection sensitivity. When you already believed you're a fraud, every tiny criticism, perceived or not, becomes evidence. I knew I wasn't good enough. I knew they'd figure me out eventually. Success becomes terrifying now because you have further to fall when people discover the truth. It's like being on a game show where you know you don't know the answer, but everyone keeps giving you money anyway. And you're just waiting for the buzzer that goes, fraud, fraud, fraud. The really isolating part, you can't ask for help because that would expose you as incompetent. You can't celebrate wins because you don't deserve them. You can't be vulnerable because vulnerability means rejection. You're trapped in this cage made of your own fear. And here's what's actually true. Your inconsistency is ADHD. It's neurology. It's not a character flaw. Your struggles are real. And they make your successes even more impressive, not less impressive. You're not faking anything. You're working twice as hard as everyone else with a brain that makes everything harder. And that deserves recognition, not shame. Okay, I need to shift gears here for a minute because we need to talk about something heavy. And content warning, this section discusses suicide. If you're in crisis now, please pause this video and call or text the Samaritans. That's the Suicide and Crisis Helpline, and they're available 24/7. All right, deep breath. Adults with ADHD are up to 3 times more likely to attempt suicide than people without ADHD. That's not a small number. That's a real crisis that we don't talk about enough. And for men specifically, men already account for nearly 80% of suicide deaths. So when you add ADHD, rejection sensitivity, and all the messaging we get fed our entire lives, it's a really dangerous combination. And I've been there at the tender age of 25, and I wouldn't have been here if I'd have been successful in that one act. And here's why rejection sensitivity specifically can become dangerous when your brain amplifies emotional pain to an 11. Jimi Hendrix volume. A temporary setback at losing a job, a breakup, or a social rejection can feel like a permanent catastrophe, like your entire future just collapsed. The pain feels so overwhelming that making it stop can seem like the only option. For us with ADHD, there's this added layer of shame. You've been socialized to believe that being emotional is weakness, that real men don't get their feelings hurt. So you're experiencing this intense pain and you're ashamed of experiencing it, and you feel weak for feeling it, and you can't talk about it without risking more rejection. You see the trap? You're in pain, but you can't reach out because reaching out feels like admitting weakness, which triggers more rejection sensitivity, which increases isolation, which increases pain. It's a spiral. A lot of guys with ADHD describe feeling like everyone else got a manual for life and they somehow missed the meeting where they handed it out. Combine that with rejection sensitivity, even thinking about asking for help feels impossible. This is why we need to talk about this stuff openly. Shame needs silence. Rejection sensitivity gets worse when you think you're the only one experiencing it. Suicidal thoughts thrive when you believe nobody could possibly understand. If you're struggling, this is a known ADHD thing. You are not uniquely broken. You are not weak. And this is help that works for you. I got the help. I got family support right when I needed it. 25 years later, here I am. So let's talk about what actually helps everybody. Let's talk about cognitive behavioral therapy. Don't let the name scare you. It's basically just, what if we question the dramatic stories our brains are telling us? The core idea is really simple. Your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are all connected. Change one, and you can change the others. So rejection sensitivity runs on these things called cognitive distortions. A fancy term for your brain is lying to you. Let me give you the greatest hits. Mind reading. They didn't respond, so they must hate me. Cool. But unless you've developed psychic powers, how do you actually know what they're thinking? Catastrophizing. It's my personal favourite. I made one typo in an email, so I'll definitely get fired. Lose my house, die alone, and my cat will eat my face. Bit of a jump there. All or nothing thinking. If I'm not perfect, I'm a complete failure. No middle ground. None. You're either Einstein or a potato. Let that sink in. So CBT and CBC, cognitive behavioural coaching, teaches you to catch these thoughts and interrogate them. Not in like a mean way, more like a curious detective. Something triggers you. Let's say your boss gives you feedback on your work. Your automatic thought, she thinks I'm incompetent and is going to fire me. Then you ask, but what's the actual evidence for this? Has she said anything about firing me? What's the evidence against it? Has she complimented my work before? Are there other explanations? Maybe she's just giving feedback because that's her job. Then you land on something balanced. She gave me feedback to help me improve. This doesn't mean I'm incompetent or getting fired. Sounds easy, right? It's not. Your rejection sensitivity has had decades of practice. These new thought patterns need time. It's like going to the gym. One session doesn't give you abs. So working with a therapist who actually understands ADHD or a coach makes this way, way faster because they can spot the patterns you can't see and help you build the skills that stick. I worked with a therapist last year, just before and after I was diagnosed with ADHD, and she spent time reframing my brain and telling me how to reframe my brain. And as a result, that's why I trained to be a coach, because I can pass those skills on. The best one was about dealing with my inner child trauma and going out into the wilderness and just talking myself round into the reality of a situation, not overly positive, not allowing the overly negative, just realism. Okay, so CBT is about challenging your thoughts. There's also neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, and this comes at it from a different angle. NLP is about changing how your brain codes and stores experiences. NLP coaches work with your unconscious patterns. Less let's debate your thoughts and more let's rewire how your brain files this stuff away. Useful for ADHD with our neuroplasticity. So reframing instead of they didn't respond because they hate me, an NLP coach might ask, what else could this mean? If this situation were actually working in your favor, how would you know? What would someone who loves you say about this? It's not toxic positivity, it's teaching your brain flexibility, because right now your brain has one story and it's running with it. My childhood trauma started with when I was 5, and it lasted all the way through until I was 48 or 49. But here's one you can try right now. It's called submodalities work. Think of a recent rejection that still bugs you. Got it? Now notice how your brain is showing you this in your memory. Is the image big or small? Is it close or far away? Is it color or black and white? And is there sound? Now experiment. Make the image smaller. Push it further away. Drain out the color. Turn down any harsh voices. Do you notice anything? The emotional intensity changes when you mess with how your brain is storing it. Wild, right? NLP also uses something called anchoring. You remember a time you felt confident, secure, able to handle anything. You really intensify that memory. See what you saw, hear what you heard, feel what you felt, and create an anchor. Could be a specific touch, a word, a gesture, a date. Then when rejection sensitivity hits, you trigger that anchor to access that resourceful state. Does it work every time? No, but it's another tool in the kit. The thing I like about NLP is it recognizes that rejection sensitivity is trying to protect you. It's just doing a shit job. So instead of fighting it, you work with it. Thanks for trying to keep me safe, brain, but this strategy is causing me more problems than it's solving. Let's find a better way.
Okay, let's bring this home. There's practical stuff that you can actually use when rejection sensitivity hits. You've got some tools. In the moment when your brain is freaking out, name it. Just say out loud in your head, this is rejection sensitivity. That's it. Naming it creates distance. It's not reality. It's your ADHD brain doing its thing. You can also breathe. Your body thinks you're being chased by a bear. 4 counts in, hold for 4, out for 6. Do it a few times. This tells your nervous system, false alarm, we're safe. You can also delay. Don't send that text. Don't make that decision. Give yourself 24 hours. I promise whatever you're feeling right now will look different tomorrow. Have a reality check. Text a trusted friend. Hey, rejection sensitivity alert. Can you help me reality check this? Having someone outside your head is invaluable. Who is my go-to person? Who can I rely on to tell about rejection sensitivity and then be my crutch when I need it? Over time, you need to build the muscles. Self-compassion. Talk to yourself like you talk to a friend. Not why am I so pathetic, but of course this hurts. Rejection sensitivity is part of my ADHD. I'm not weak for feeling this. Small exposures. Gradually expose yourself to minor rejections in safe contexts. Ask for something small at a coffee shop. DM someone you admire. This teaches your brain rejection happens and I survive. Find your people. ADHD informed therapists, coaches, peer groups, people who get it. You need people who understand rejection sensitivity isn't you being too sensitive. You can also consider medication. For some people, ADHD meds help with emotional regulation. It's not a magic fix, but it can turn the volume down. Talk to a psychiatrist who specializes in ADHD. So here is the honest truth. The chances are you will always have rejection sensitivity dysphoria. ADHD is part of who you are, but you can reduce its power over you. You can learn to question it, manage it, and not let it make your decisions. You can build a life where rejection hurts but doesn't destroy you, where you can take risks despite the fear, where you can be yourself. And when I say ADHD is a part of you and rejection sensitivity is, the more you practice this stuff. We as ADHDers have a special kind of neuroplasticity in our brain. That means it can adjust its channels and its grooves so that it can modify how it reacts and deals with certain situations. So the more you practice, the more weightlifting you do in your brain gym, the more likely you are to change the course of it in the future. Not remove it completely, but certainly change it. Rejection sensitivity has probably cost you a lot of things. In my 50 years, it's cost me relationships, opportunities, and a whole ton of peace of mind. But understanding it is the first step to getting your power back. You're not too sensitive and you're not broken. You just have an ADHD brain, which means you feel things intensely. Remember, that same intensity means you also love deeply and care passionately. You feel joy just as strongly as you feel pain. So the goal isn't to stop feeling, it's to stop letting the fear of rejection run your life. If this helped, share it with someone who needs to hear it. I'll put some resources in the caption. Go and find a therapist or a coach. I'm an ADHD coach with ADHD. I have lived most of my life not knowing I had ADHD, not knowing that rejection sensitivity dysphoria was felt by everybody with our brains. I didn't even know I had one of those brains, but here we are. It's felt by everybody with our brains. And that's why there's so many lanes of traffic running at any time, because our brain is just constantly trying to protect us. It's trying to stop us getting harmed. Fear of rejection. If you're rejected, that means you basically ended your life. Here's the steps that are going to happen. We feel things intensely, continue to feel intensely, but have tools that enable you to cut down some of the walls that make you feel all the pain that comes with perception. As I say, I'm an ADHD coach. Reach out to me. Check out my Instagram, which is richforbes_life coach. Check out my TikTok, which is ADHD.rewired, and this YouTube channel. There's going to be more stuff coming on here. I just thought I'd hit hard with this one first. So have a fantastic, fantastic day, whatever day it is that you're reading this. And remember, there are tools to help you retrain your brain. We get some fancy music now to play us out. Has anyone seen my glasses? Anyone? Nobody's seen my glasses.
An unexpected expression change of tone. This is when perceived rejection doesn't just feel like, well, slightly disappointing. It feels like you're dying inside. Real physical pain. And you can't breathe. And it's called rejection sensitivity dysphoria. And it's a standard comorbidity with ADHD. And we, as a result, feel rejection 10 times more intensely. My podcast is on YouTube.